ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya.
Otito niile dịrị Chineke, ọbasi dị elu, Chukwu obiọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ụzọ anyị ọbụla niile bụrụ ihe, ka ihe ọbụla kpatara aka bụrụ sọ mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị a nwụsị obi aṅụrị taa na ebighị ebi. Ọfọ ya gazie ise. All praises to Chi the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the Good, Chi the Merciful, Chi the Magnificent with grace. Let everywhere of our lives be light. Let all our acts be crowned with good, and may the world prosper from our ministry, now and forever. So let it be. Amen. Welcome to another episode of Cheersm Live. Today's topic, Hidden Gems of Africa, is a topic that I hold dear to my heart. The reason, I've always wondered what it would feel like, at least in our African community, if diasporan Africans had a chance to visit Africa and reconnect in the true spirit of Umoja, Idinotu, unity for us all. Because if we're unified, man, we could strike a mighty blow. We cease to exist like this and now exist this way. So this show is so dear to me because it gives me an opportunity to share this passion with you, to unite us all through tourism, discovering places in Africa, not just for diasporan Africans, but even for us or people living in Africa who, for whatever reason, when they are going on vacation, what do? They go abroad. I'm going to London. I'm going to go see the Great Walls of China. I'm going to see the Vatican in Rome. I'm going to Mecca. I'm going to, visit the Amazon in South America, Brazil, whatever. But you don't hear Africans in the motherland when they're taking vacation, talking about visiting other countries in Africa. Africa is beautiful. Africa is full of wonders, full of discoveries. Remember, that's where life started, in Africa. And then we disperse all over the world. So it's really, really our responsibility as people of African ancestry, if you're in diaspora, to go to Africa, visit Africa, connect. You got people like Erika Badu that, found her roots back in Cameroon. You got people like the Godfather of Harlem. I can't remember quite what his name is. He's an actor, but he found this in Newi. So did, these names. I can't quite remember, a whole lot of them. But he was with Mel Gibson. They did a movie together. I can't quite remember what his name is. But he also found his roots. There's a lot of permanent African Americans that found their roots. Steve Harvey. These guys, these folks have gone and really actually wanted to connect. Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, some people are happy that they're connected with any kind of tribe, gives them, their source fountain, where they came from. And then some diasporan Africans, when they're connected to their actual roots in Africa, they kind of seem disappointed. Like Oprah was disappointed one time. She thought she was Zulu. Well, she ain't Zulu. I think she's from somewhere, the Bassa tribe, somewhere around Liberia. Instead of embracing that, she is just all out of whack. I wanted to come from where Mandela came from because Mandela is a big shot. So I'm a big shot. So I have to come from South Africa because South Africa is the place that if you come from it, then you are really somebody. No. I mean, look what's going on in South Africa right now. I wouldn't advise any one of us to go over there right now, especially if you're African living in the motherland. If you're diaspora African, go right ahead. But if you're from the motherland, I suggest you don't. If you live there in Zimbabwe, in Nigeria, wherever, I suggest visit other parts of Africa, connect with them. When South Africa gets themselves together, then you can go visit. But until then, I don't know what game they're playing over there. But anyway, tourism. Why is that important? Domestic and intra-African tourism. It allows local citizens, diasporan Africans, to connect with their heritage, strengthen the continental economy, support local, conservation. You build up your environment, you make it look good, you make it look presentable, you sell yourself to the world. Man, the greatest economic instrument is tourism. And I, for one, will encourage every diaspora in Africa and also Africans living in the motherland to travel, to go to Africa, go to Lake Victoria, Zanzibar, go to the Congo, go to Senegal. They got a beautiful statue up there. It's about 160 feet or 180 feet tall, the tallest statue in Africa. I mean, there's so many things, in Africa that is great. You go to the safaris, we have the New Yam festivals. You have great cities that are just as beautiful as cities you find in the West that we don't know about, especially diaspora Africans, because we've been sold the bill of goods. They're always showing you pictures and photos of Africans from a position of need, of want, as opposed to showing you the other side of Africa where things are really moving. Things look great. People are happy. People are living good. You could get all that in Africa, both sides, good and bad. I mean, nobody's perfect. Good and bad, you get it all. But we owe it to ourselves to explore this beautiful continent because it's got a lot to offer. Human capital, environmental beauty, and natural resources. We have it all. We have it more than any other continent on Earth. We got everything, all of it. So it's up to us to try to explore these opportunities, both to connect ourselves, to love our continent, and to understand and show the world that we've always been capable of original thinking, and we're just as beautiful as any other tourist destination in the world. Now, let's talk about some of the top African, destinations, that you can embark on. We can talk about wildlife and nature safaris. We can talk about beautiful landmarks and landscapes. We'll talk about, festivals and cultures. We'll talk about cities, island escapes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, think about the most beautiful thing that you could experience in at any destination. You find all of that stuff in Africa. Now, let's take wildlife and nature safaris. You have the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, famous for the great wildebeest migration and big cats. Then you have Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya, offers classic savanna views and rich local Maasai culture. Then you have Kruger National Park in South Africa, which is a top spot to see the big five animals easily, lions and elephants and hyenas and all that kind of stuff, hippopotamuses and water buffaloes, crocodiles, all that stuff. Then Okavango Delta in Botswana. It's another unique wetland with wilderness, explored by traditional dugout canoes. That's how you could get around. Real beautiful stuff. I haven't been there personally, but man, it's part of, my to-do list to experience wildlife, nature safaris. When I was a kid, we went to the zoo. We saw a lot of those animals in Enugu, but to actually go to a safari Beautiful. I like to do that. And by the way, word of caution, if anybody decides to go on a safari, stay in your car and listen to your guides. All right? Don't be like some of these fools out here who want to go out there and go pet a lion or wind their windows down to feed a lion. Well, what do you think happens to an arm hanging out of the window? It's gone. All right? So don't be stupid. Don't do stuff like that. There you got beautiful landmarks and landscapes like Victoria Falls in Zambia, the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, Susuvei in Namibia. There you got beautiful cities, Cape Town, Marrakech in Morocco, Zanzibar in Tanzania, Lagos, Abuja, Dakar. Beautiful cities in Africa. As a matter of fact, talking about African cities, I have so much passion about African cities that my calendar cities dedicated one. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, well, there you go. I dedicated a whole calendar, right, for African cities. We got big cities, industrialized cities, but you don't see that in the news. So I felt an obligation to do a series in my calendar talking about African cities. That's how passionate I am about this stuff. And as a matter of fact, if you opened up the calendar, for example, you get to see all the cities right here in it. But anyway, that's for another show. But we have beautiful cities, that you may want to kind of take a look at, visit Africa. There are just so many beautiful landscapes like the Simeon Mountains of Ethiopia, known for its rugged terrain and unique wildlife. Then you got the Mount Kilimanjaro, very famous mountain peak. It's an extinct volcanic mountain over there. These are beautiful tourist attractions. Then, of course, you got the pyramids in Egypt and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, it is just the most beautiful place that you could think of. But you would never know that if you don't visit, right? If you don't visit, you'll never know that. Then the benefits of tourism, traveling to Africa, right? You learn the culture. You learn about different traditions, languages in neighboring countries. Tourism is good for the economy. Keeping travel money inside local communities to create jobs. For example, there's a statue in Senegal. When the president of Senegal decided to build that statue, I mean, the locals, the citizens of Senegal were upset about it. The statue was actually going to cost $25 million. I think that's what it cost. And they were actually very upset about it and felt like he should have used that, to maybe help the poor, maybe build better roads or whatever it is, pour that back into the economy in whatever capacity that it felt was appropriate. But this president knew better, understood tourism, understood that if he built that statue, it's going to attract a lot of money, a lot of tourism to Senegal. And in no time, he will make up the $25 that it costs to build that statue. And after that, profits continues year after year. Then the local economy starts springing up around the statue. Cab drivers, artisans, restaurants, souvenir stands, all kinds of great stuff just off of that statue. That statue now created an economy, a tourism economy for the country and also for the city, resulting in more jobs, job creation, selling your country to the outside world, creating something so beautiful that people want to come back to your country, to your environment, over and over and over, going to safaris, going to enjoy certain, festivals in Africa, because there's a lot of festivals, a lot of sports, what do you call it? Sports activities or events, cycling, from South Africa. I think from Senegal to Cameroon, right? They got so many beautiful, beautiful festivals like the New Yam Festival in Igbo land in sub-Saharan Africa, even all the way to South America and in Asia, in places like Burma. They celebrate that stuff. Guinea. They celebrate it. New Guinea. They celebrate that stuff. New Yam Festival is an African thing. All the way from Asia through sub-Saharan Africa to South America. The New Yam Festival is celebrated. And if you come to some of those festivities, for example, if you went to Aruchuku, the New Yam Festival over there is really beautiful. Or if you come to my village in Ugboro and really just enjoy local culture, music, dances, the whole ball of wax, food, you will have a ball. But instead of sitting around and saying, oh, I want to travel, I want to see the world, yeah, you could do that. But if you're African, you owe it to yourself to visit the motherland and get to know where you came from. And if you're not from Africa, you're European or whatever, it's a beautiful continent to come, enjoy yourself and visit, as long as your heart is pure and you have no ulterior motives, right? So that's one of the things that we have to watch out for, you know, in when you have foreigners come to Africa, you know, to partake, you know, and enjoy the culture, you know, the environment and all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, there's so many places. Then you have Mali, you know, Timbuktu, you know, the oldest university in the world over there. We talk about the Amazon all the time in South America, and it has its own tourism, you know, angles to it. But we have the Congo, the jungle, and the Congo River. It's just as dangerous as the Amazon. People don't talk too much about it because the Amazon is the big brother because it's bigger. But man, I tell you, the jungle in Congo is something else. I personally do not want to trek through that jungle. I just don't, because there's so many unknowns and unseen things, man, some weird stuff that you could find in there. And I just don't want to take that kind of chance, you know, to go through it. If you went to the Amazon, you know, there's so many things that can get you over there. Animals, insects, fish, diseases, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you will experience the same thing if you went to the Congo. So yeah, you go to the Congos, hang around the outskirts of it, but I would not advise you to go into the jungle. It's not just a good thing to do. It really isn't. If you have no business going in there, forget about it. All right. So there's so many places. You go to Mali. There's a place called Djenne in Mali. It's an ancient city, you know, and it's famous for its mud bricks, architecture, vibrant cultural heritage, you know. And I don't know if, you know, the audience, if you guys are really, you know, aware of modern African architecture. And if you go to places like Kenya, you see plenty of those, you know, modern African architecture. African architecture is not just about huts. That's ancient stuff. That's village stuff that you will find in there. It has its own beauty too. You know, the mud bricks and all that stuff, you know, these are really higher quality construction, you know, materials. You know, better than cement and all that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, you have architects and builders, you know, abroad now copying African architecture and building materials and lauding it as the best thing that ever happened to construction. So it's kind of funny how others would take pride in things that are African, but we as Africans, we don't take pride in things that are ours. For some reason, we always feel that it's inferior to those people that colonized us or enslaved us. You know, the Stockholm mentality everywhere. And me personally, it's one of my life goals to try to reduce that, you know, a Stockholm syndrome mentality and quit praising those things and then people that continue to keep you enslaved, keep you self-hating and stuff like that. No, as an African, as a person of African ancestry, diaspora African, even Africans in the motherland, we owe it to ourselves to visit other communities in Africa and really get to see the beauty that is ours. Give us a sense of pride, a sense of where we've been, where we are, and what we could be. But you will never know those things and feel that way until you take that trip. Every diasporan that can afford to take that trip, take it. It's good for your soul. And if you're on the motherland and you can afford to go on vacation, as opposed to saying, you know, I'm going to Rome, big deal. Find somewhere in Africa, go to Namibia. Trust me, they got some nice tourist destinations over there. There's so many places that you could go to in Africa. When I retire back home, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend a whole lot of my rest of my life traveling all over Africa, seeing for myself before I leave this earth, satisfy my curiosity. And I know that you guys are curious about a whole lot of things, you know, in Africa, which you can read in books and see pictures. But until you go and experience it yourself, nah, you ain't seeing nothing. I mean, you could tell me about the Great Walls of China, but until I go to see it for myself, I could never really fathom the magnitude of those, you know, of the walls. I could talk about lions and I see them in movies. I watch them on video. I look at pictures. I hear stories about it. I go to YouTube and I can see lions hunting, even people attacked by it. But until you are on a safari, you could never feel that stuff. You could go to Victoria Falls in Zambia, Zimbabwe, one of the, you know, largest and most spectacular waterfalls in the world, often referred to as the smoke that thunders. But guess what? You could see the pictures of it. You could watch videos of it, and you could be awed. But until you actually show up and see it live, then you'll understand that whatever waterfalls that you may have witnessed outside of Africa, either there's no comparison or the waterfalls in Africa, Victoria Falls, is just as awe-inspiring as any other waterfalls that you could find in the Andes Mountains. I mean, we have natural phenomena and things that are just as good or even more astonishing than what we find outside of Africa. But if we sell ourselves as people that are not capable of original thinking, or if we don't think there's something about us that is worth flaunting, then the world will never know our true greatness. They will write our own history for us, and we'll accept it. We'll go to school, read somebody else's narrative of our history, and then consider ourselves educated. But if we have the same narrative from an African, then we act like, well, you know, since he's African, he might not be either that impressive or he may not be true. But your colonizer and your enslaver will tell you something and you'll buy it hook, line, and sinker. Why? Because you've been programmed to self-hate, to think of yourself as inferior through the educational system. And here we are today. Most of us not knowing anything about Africa. Apart from the lessons that I learned from my father and my mother, Ahai and Inoha, I learned more about Africa when I left Africa than I did when I was there. Now that tells you a lot about the educational system back there. They don't teach you anything African. Most of the time, when they talk about Black folks, they only talk about you from the perspective of need, want, the beggar, the colonized, let my people go kind of stuff. We shall overcome kind of thing. But nobody ever talked about your greatness 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago in school. You knew nothing about it. What you knew was that Mungo Park discovered the Niger River. But then ask yourself, were there people living there fishing before he showed up? Did he really discover the Niger River? Did he? Or did he just happen to come upon it and go, wow, there are people here? And then give credit to the people that were already there before he showed up. But then when you read about it, Mungo Park discovered Africa. Really? Whatever. Christopher Columbus came to the Americas. He never even showed up here. And if he did come up here, he didn't discover anything because there were Native Americans here already before he showed up. None of these people discovered anything that we weren't already doing before they showed up. But after putting us to the sword, putting a bullet through you, after all the murder and the rape and everything else, all of a sudden they're telling your story now, and then you believe that you're less than. But we are not less than. There's so many beautiful things about Africa. And until you go there and experience it for yourself, You'll never understand how beautiful and how big Africa is. Nothing like what you see in the map. Because when you look at the map, Greenland looks like it's bigger or just as big as Africa. But Greenland is like 9 times smaller than South America. And you could fit South America into Africa. You could fit Europe in Africa. You could fit the United States into Africa. You could fit India into Africa. And Greenland. All of them will fit in there. That's how large Africa is. But you never know it looking at the map. And if you really want to know what the distance is like over there, then you have to try to experience it for yourself. Try a safari from South Africa, Cape Town, to Cairo, Egypt. Tell me what that distance is like. I mean, if you like cross-country rally cars, because there are events like that in Africa, off-road racing, bicycle racing, off-road bicycle racing, just like the Tour de France. Oh, they got that in Africa too. They got all kinds of good stuff. There's practically, apart from the difference in culture, there's really nothing that you could experience outside of Africa that you cannot experience in Africa. The only difference is you want something that is not African, so you leave Africa to go experience that, which you should, because it allows us to understand one another better, promote peace. Because with an understanding of your neighbor, you know, the people can really live peacefully. If your neighbor understands that you have a right to live too, if they're civilized, they will protect your right to live with their own life. That's what true civilization is. If you recognize your neighbor's right to exist, there will be peace, which is something you just don't find in the United States right now or in a lot of places in Africa, all over the world. I mean, look what's going on right now. It's terrible. You know, there's no peace. And yet, if we had peace, think about how beautiful it would be just to go to these countries without all these conflicts and all that, and how peaceful life would be. Beautiful thing, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. But anyway, my co-host, I'm hoping he comes in. There he is. Dibias. Welcome to the show. Imagi? Can you hear me? Okay, I think Dibias is probably having a little internet issues, but I'm sure he's going to be able to say something once he gets it all together. Can you hear me, Dibias? Okay, he can't hear me right now, you know, so, but anyway, Africa is beautiful. I used to remember when I was a kid, you know, once a year in December, we went to the village. And I used to look forward to that drive, going to the village from the city, the difference of city life and the quiet and the beautiful, you know, aspect of village life. Crime is practically non-existent. Except for ghosts, man. I could walk out of the house and walk down a mile at night and walk back to the house. I'm not worried about nothing. That was back then, not now. That's when I was coming up. But things have changed. Civil wars, bad governments, bad economies, people suffering, people not getting equal, you know, opportunities to make it. All of a sudden, crime, you know, starts popping its ugly little head. All of a sudden, you're scared to go anywhere because you don't want somebody busting your head. And the reason for that is bad government. So, but we're hoping that the government will get better, just like it's getting better in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Guinea, and in my own, God's own state, Dibias state, Nigeria. We have just the best governor that you could ask for. And then hopefully with him, we might be able to promote the tourist industry in Dibias State, which I vow that I will be an integral part of it. Dibias, can you hear me? Can you hear me? He's having issues with the internet. So I don't know exactly. But anyway, let's keep talking about destinations. Namibia is another place that is really beautiful. It has what they call a skeleton coast, remote and beautiful coastline, known for its shipwrecks and striking landscape. Of course, you know why there's shipwrecks because of the kind of rough waves and stuff like that. So people end up, messed up. And then they got this Namibia, there's a desert over there with this tribe of people. The women use clay for their hair and all that. Tourist attraction. And people just go there just to experience the rawness of African culture. And then of course, you go to South Africa, the Zulu dance and all that kind of stuff. Just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful continent. I personally, next year, I think my journey begins for me. I'll try to every year, for the rest of my life, try to go to a different part of Africa to experience the beauty and the richness of African culture. I just can't wait for that. I was hoping that Dibias here would join me and talk a little bit more about tourism and why it's important for diasporan Africans to visit the motherland and reconnect and get firsthand evidence of what the continent is like, and not a narrative of haters and people that don't want Africans to be looked upon as people that are capable of original thinking. So we have to do this show here today about the hidden gems of Africa, just to try to get people curious about trying to explore. I Show Speed went to Africa, and boy, he got a hell of a reception over there, man. I mean, they made that guy feel so welcome. Every single African country, even some of the countries rolled out the red carpet so much that their president showed up just to see meet I Show Speed. I mean, that was just beautiful. And I think some of the goodwill that he received was a way of Africans to let diasporan Africans, Jamaicans, African Americans, British Black, Asian Blacks, South American Black, for them to feel welcome, that we love them, we miss them, we hope and wish and pray that they will find their way back. Because if we're united all over the world, boy, look at that. What a powerful punch. What a powerful punch. I mean, our defense would just be exceptional. We'll be unbreakable. So tourism is really a beautiful idea for diasporan Africans, to just put it in part of your plan, on a yearly, if you can, to visit Africa. Dibias, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Huh? Are you having an issue with the internet? Yeah, we're having a little bit of a problem. But anyway, Morocco is another beautiful place. It's another beautiful place. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's called Ait Ben Haddad, right? It's an ancient fortified village, famous for its stunning Eastern clay architecture. And I got to say this too. If you go to Africa, South Africa, they have this area where they got this village huts, and they're all in this beautiful, beautiful, multicolored huts, man. Just a tapestry, a work of art, just beautiful. I love African architecture. That's just my one thing that I feel that we haven't sold enough of it to the rest of the world, about just how beautiful and how awesome, some African architectural designs are. Okay, here's Chiadozie. Let's see if it's there. Chiadozie, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Wow, we're really having some serious issues with the internet connection over there. I know he's disappointed. He's got a whole lot that he wants to say, but well, we'll keep going, and hopefully he'll be able to join us before the hour is up, because our show is going to run for 1 hour. It's not going to be 2 hours. Okay, Dibias is not with us today. She has some very, very important things that she has to take care of today. She wears so many hats, and one of those hats she's wearing today, and she's handling business, And we're so happy to have her and proud of what she's doing and her efforts. So, but next time around, okay, Dibias, Dr. Osimiri will be joining us again, and we'll come up with another topic that we feel that needs to be shared, and we'll talk about it. That's what we do here on Chisholm Live. We talk about things that are comfortable, and we talk about things that are not comfortable. And one of the things that are comfortable is talking about African tourism. Think about it. As I mentioned earlier on this show, whether you're from Jamaica, African American, you're Nigerian, whatever, when you think about vacation, I can tell you that at least 70% of the time, maybe even 80% of the time, you're thinking about going somewhere outside of Africa. If you're in the Caribbean, sometimes I'm going on vacation, you come into the United States. And that's where it ends for you. You get to see the US. And if you're African American, some of us want to go to the islands. Let's go to Jamaica. And that's where it ends. But you got to go to Africa. That's your roots. That's where you come from. You got to go over there. There's so many beautiful things. I mean, talk about probably the largest collection of wild animals is found in Africa. And to a large extent, you find a whole lot of stuff in the Amazon and also in Guinea, in Asia. Those tropical areas really have a lot of lifestyle. But when you talk about primates and animals and, carnivores and all that, man, Africa is it. We have the largest concentration of cats, all kinds of cats in Africa. Lions, cheetahs, Seville's, what do you call them? Leopards and what have you. They got the hyenas, the wild dogs, and then the crocodiles and elephants and buffaloes. I mean, which other continent has all that stuff? We got mountains too, particularly, the Kenya mountains and the Kilimanjaros. You want ice? You want to, how you say, ski? You go to South Africa, go to Namibia. Go up on the mountains over there. They have snow. We got snow. We got desert. We have jungle. We have cities. We have history. We have Timbuktu. We have Egypt. Okay? We have Benin. We got it all. You name it, Africa has it. But if you follow the narrative out here, you will never know it. If you're really serious about finding your roots, travel to Africa. First of all, see if you can find your roots, using some of these services here to show you exactly, where you hail from. Because no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man or woman, you're an African, even though the name Africa is not African, all right? In some places, it's known as Alkebulan. Where I come from, it's known as Ukebuliali. Ukebulali. So Africa is not really the name, but that's what it's called today. That's what we learned in school. If I remember correctly, Africa was named after a Roman general, Scipio Africanus, when he defeated Hannibal. That's how we got the name Africa. But visit Alkebulan, visit Okebulali, visit Africa, and reconnect yourself to the motherland. Okay, Dibias here. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Well, I guess he can't hear me. Let me see. He's struggling to join over 25 minutes. Yeah, he's got some really bad internet connection. It's 10:39 right now, and he's still having a problem. But I read his notes. He's with us. I can see him on the screen, but he's having slow connection, so it's making it difficult for him to hear what I'm trying to say. So He comes in and then he leaves. Then he comes back in again. And I guess hopefully we're not going to be doing that too long, and he's going to be able to, come in and join us in the show and give us his 2 cents. Dibias, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but it's breaking.
There you go. Okay, Mano Kawo. I said, man, don't let me do this whole thing and finish up without you. So let me just dive right in. We're talking about tourism in Africa. From your own perspective, talk a little bit about some beautiful places that people might want to travel, particularly if they're of African descent, as a way of unifying, the diaspora, with the Africans, in the motherland. Give us your take of some of the reasons why it's important that we make Africa our primary destination when we want to travel, and then anything else outside that is secondary. And then talk about some of the great places that you think that people might want to visit. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that the tourism business in Africa is growing. It's growing, and there's a consciousness now. Apart from game reserves all over, for instance, I can talk about Nigeria, because I remember once upon a time, that was about some 10 years ago. I wanted to take I took the family to Republic of Benin and then Togo, Republic of Togo, for holiday. And at the border, the Nigerian custom and the immigration services were asking me, what am I going there to do? That is Nigerians that make the place happen. And now Nigerians are coming home. And really, I regretted going there because the Nigerians that made the place bubble had returned home. And so the place was dry. And back home, there are a lot of, in Lagos alone, you can count over 20. In fact, along the beach in Lagos, from Badagry down, you can count over 20 tourist attractions. They are making the beach size attractive for low-income earners, for medium-income earners, for those who are high-income earners, depending. So on your price, it's your cash, you carry it, And then there are places you can pay as little as 5,000 naira. You go and enjoy yourself even till dawn. Once you are in with your ticket. You don't have to buy another ticket for the whole day. There are places you pay as much as 15,000, 55,000, 100,000, depending on the service you can afford. Then there are places that you can go to, you enjoy the beachside, and that place has been destroyed because you are trying to build what they call the Lagos Calabar coastal line, which, though, yes, we know it's part of the West African ECOWAS design that road should run from Senegal through Gambia, through Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo, and then through Nigeria, down to Cameroon, Calabar, so that when you are driving, you see the coastal line. So other countries have done that because I've traveled across the West African country. You see the beach as you're on the road, but Nigeria has not been able to achieve that. And so they want to achieve that, but they could have done that without destroying the beach site. At least in that place, if we love tourism, I guess what they should have done was to ask the man to contribute to building a flyover over the place and make it aesthetical, or even avoid the place. But they destroyed it and took it out completely. And so the man who brought in investment from abroad, over $300 million investment, was destroyed. So that kind of government action does not encourage people to come home and invest, because it's possible the man took out his whole saving and even borrowed to come and invest there. And I don't know why the government took such action. But the truth of the matter is that the government is investing into tourism, even outside Lagos. There are places you can visit. There's the Melekan Hill in Enugu. In the east, there are a lot of interesting places. In the middle belt, there are lots of like Riankari, game reserve, a lot of game reserve, Kenji Dam, a lot of things you can see. And it also depends on the definition of tourism. Do we want to define tourism in the way that we go abroad? Because the West and other parts of the world have.
Oh, internet issue again. I think he's frozen. Oh, that's unfortunate. He was really talking about something that is really important. But anyway, let's get back to talking about, coming to Africa. I think one of the most important things really is also to make sure that if you do decide that you want to travel, you want to make sure that the area that you want to travel in is, nice. It doesn't have civil wars and, political upheavals and stuff like that. So you want to do your research and look into some countries, and also what kind of traveling do you want to do, right? So it depends on the region, there's so many countries, of course, in Africa. There's 51, 52 countries there, there's a few countries that are outright dangerous. For example, I would not advise you to go to Libya right now. I wouldn't advise you to go to Somalia. I wouldn't advise you to go to Chad right now, or even Burkina Faso right now, even though they're growing and everything. I guess you could visit Burkina Faso and Chad right now because I think they have the terrorist issue thing, a little bit under control, but I'm sure that in the next year or two, maybe no more than 3 years, they will really have it totally under control. I won't have to be dealing with that. I like what they're doing right now, and the way they're handling it. So I don't think that there's going to be much of an issue, in the next few years about going to Chad, going to Burkina Faso. From what I see that Burkina Faso is doing right now, that's really going to be the place that we all want to go to. I personally want to go see for myself, where Touareg has taken a country that was probably the poorest country in all of Africa. And within 3 years, they're the most self-sufficient country in Africa. As a matter of fact, they're exporting their products to African countries now, tomatoes and all that. They're feeding Africa. Right? So Botswana is another place that you want to go to. Namibia, it's really a cool place. Kenya is stable. So Tanzania, those places, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia. These are places that are stable, where you don't really worry about things happening. If you're coming from outside of Africa, South Africa is a great place to visit right now. But if you're not a diasporan African and you're from the continent itself, neighboring countries, Botswana, Namibia, all them places, Zimbabwe, even West African countries like Nigeria and all that, I wouldn't advise anybody to go there right now. South Africa is good, but there's something going on upstairs. And we need to figure out what's going on with the South Africans, why there's this hate for their fellow Africans, in Africa. We got to work on that and figure that out, but we'll see. Mauritania is another place. It's stable and it's really old. It's got it's a high place, it's a desert country, but it's got a lot of history and a lot of places, natural, sites that, if you want to go there, that would be great. The Comoros, Mauritius, Seychelles Island, Madagascar, those places, right? And then the great diving pyramids of Sudan. I don't necessarily know exactly what the political climate in Sudan is right now, but those pyramids over there is pretty good. And then Mozambique and Malawi, some of the great places that, if you want to travel to Africa, I recommend those places. But again, it's very important that you do your good diligence, true diligence to do your research and find out what parts of Africa is experiencing any kind of upheaval and what parts of Africa, are safe for you to go to. And then, of course, we have a lot of different kinds of safaris, in Africa, wildlife and nature safaris. I think I talked about it in the beginning. Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, famous for the great wildebeest migration and the big cats, the cheetahs and the lions and leopards, you know, the big cats over there, and those giant African carpet pythons. You know, you get to find those things over there. There you have the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya, the classic savannah views and rich local Maasai culture. I don't know if you've ever seen these Maasai guys, you know, jumping up and down. And as a matter of fact, I think because in South Sudan, you have like the tallest tribe in Africa. You want to see some tall men and women, go over there. There's just so many. You want to, the shortest, smallest people in the world are also from Africa. You get the tallest from Africa. You get the shortest from Africa, because they all came from Africa and they're spread all over the world. Everything you see outside of Africa came from Africa. You want short? We got that. You want tall? We got that. Now, I don't know about fat, but I know tall and short, we got that cornered. Fat, yeah, depends on what you're eating. It's not a natural trait. But being short and being tall is. But being fat is what you eat. You eat the wrong things, you get fat. Depending on how much eating you're doing. You eat the right kind of things, then you don't get no weight. Oh, there he is. Dibias, over to you. Continue. Can you hear me?
Yeah, like I was saying, it depends on how we define tourism. Because when we want to go for conferences abroad, they ask us to fill the kind of sites we like to visit, whether you want to visit industrial sites, whether you want to visit places of technology, whether you want to visit places of military formation, whether you want to visit traditional places like Zeus Shrine, Apollo Shrine, whether you want to visit ancient monasteries and nunneries. All these are tourist attractions. And like I asked one of my colleagues who traveled to, was it Greece, and was so proud that he went to the Shrine of Zeus. And when he went to the Shrine of Zeus, he took pictures. And at the end of the day, he spent, was it $30 to enter, $10 to read his palm, $10, and then to take a picture in the shrine, $10, $30 gone. So imagine that 100 people do that a day. That's some money. And times that by a month, 100 a day times a week, times a month, times a year, then you know how much it generates. So meanwhile here, we are busy describing our own artifacts and traditional artifacts, ancient places, shrines as demonic. We're busy demonizing them, destroying them, using pastors, ignorant pastors and churches to destroy them, calling them names, saying that we have ancestral curses. It's because we lack the wherewithal, intellectual wherewithal, to repackage these things and make them places of tourist attraction. So I asked that my colleague, you are from Oyo? He said, yes. And you worship Shango? Yes. What is the difference between Zeus and Shango? Have you been to Shango Shrine? It was just a gap looking at me. It's demonic, right? Zeus is holy. So, and I told him that I will only respect him if he goes back to Oyo Town, old Oyo Town, ancient Oyo Town, not the new one, and enter the Shango Shrine and patronize the priest there, pay them homage and take picture and become proud of it. That's when I'll be proud of him. If not, with all that he says he had, he won grant, he went to Greece, that he's just a mere appendage, a tool, an instrument to be used. And so that's the problem. For us to patronize tourist centers in Africa, because different African countries have different tourist centers, slave sites along the West African coast, they are tourist attraction from Badagry, and they are mostly in Ghana. You'll find them, Elmina Castle, Cape Coast Castle, and other castles in
I think they have it in
Ghana.
I mean,
So much so,
Calabar.
yes. So much so that the president of Ghana is using one of the castles, you know. So you see gate of no return or point of no return that they have now renamed gate of return. So you see that the Ghana people have taken their culture to those castles where they used to pray, used to have a Christian songs and sermon. They have brought in traditional worshippers. And so you see that they are redefining things, and Rollins introduced Panafest. So you go across to Gambia, you see that tourist attraction has been there. Though they may not have as many as we do in Nigeria, but the little they have, they manage it efficiently, that it accommodates every tourist that comes. And if you go to Ghana, you'll find different beaches. And you'll find that these beaches, they may not be as tall, as exquisite as a Nikon Nuga Hotel, but they maintain it, and you see maintenance, you see dedication, and they make their money from such centers. So all over Africa, there are places of interest, and it also behoves on those abroad to liaise, to come home and see those they can liaise with, those who know what it means, what development means, not those who want to extort, and go into business of partnership with the state governments, the federal governments in developing tourist centers. Shrines can be renovated. Like if I have my way, already I've started in my hometown, my home village, the ancient shrine. I have forwarded money, and I'm still forwarding for it to be revived. And I told them to go to Umuahia and obtain a court injunction that the place is an ancient artifact. It's a shrine. It's an ancient artifact and it's protected by law. They do not know it. Ancient Ikoro and all that. They should obtain the right of law to protect them. And we are building places to protect. Those are tourist attractions. So when my friends come, they are not, those coming from abroad are not interested in seeing churches. They're not interested in seeing mosques. Especially if they are from Europe and America, they're interested in seeing shrine. When Macron came to Nigeria, he didn't visit any church, but he visited the Kalakuta Shrine, Femi Shrine, which he built in honor of his father. And he made a statement, the shrine is always a shrine, and it's called African Shrine. And you see there, you go there, you see the mystique. You see Steve Fella's tradition of philosopher, poet, and priest, musician being withheld, being maintained. So it depends on what we call tourism and what kind of tourist innovations we want to come up with. And so Africa is full of lots and lots of natural sites, lakes, rivers, oceans. It depends on what we want to make of it. But I think if we want to compete with the West, we should not be waiting for government, because the government itself may not know what it takes. I think the government respect those who come from abroad. Once they see those who come from abroad and they are backed up with Pan-Africanism and they are serious backing back at home, they will invest. They will even, it's just authorization. They will authorize. And that's why I say you should also come for security's sake. You should liaise with those who are into tradition, because once they realize that you are in league, you have connected with those who are in tradition, the obis, the obas, and the traditional priest, the traditional institution. It becomes difficult for them to cheat you, because what we have fear for is our own traditional ancestors, deities, and the principalities. We don't have fear for church. We don't have fear for all of that, all of those. And so once they know that you have connected with source and they see you there and they identify that you are bringing investment, you are secured. The traditional people, insofar as they are connected with the authentic source, because there are so many charlatans, you don't go through the charlatans. That's why you must go to your authentic sources, the traditional ancient priests and their sites, connected to the traditional ruler. They have integrity to protect. They have the integrity to protect. Just like if you come to Africa, if you want to take taxi, don't take taxis by the roadside. Take taxis at the airport, at the designated site, no matter how expensive they are, because they are gazetted and they cannot go into crime. If they go into crime, they know their houses, their homes, their children, they can trace them. But if you take them by the roadside, then you fall into the hands of 419ers and 410ers and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's my little take in all of that.
Thank you. Man. Okay, Amila Dibia, I wish you came in when the show started, but I know you were having some challenges because your input is always so appreciated because you kind of touch the nitty gritty and you go deep, deeper than I will even do, particularly the fact that you also live there. So you see things a lot better than I could see it from where I'm at, so I always appreciate your opinion. We always appreciate your opinion. And you said something that was very important. Tourism is more fulfilling for a people when your culture and your history and your tradition is forefront. Then everything else builds around it. Your safari builds around it. Your museums builds around that. But you first have to recognize those traditional institutions. For example, if you're going to how do you say? I mean, the Asia or the Arab world, the first thing that will hit you is the culture. The Buddhist monks, Islamists and all that kind of stuff. That's what's going to hit you. That's the first thing you're going to experience. But anyway, we've come to an end. The show has come to an end, and appreciate your input, Dibias Dozier. We hope to see you next week when, hopefully, or in 2 weeks, when myself, Dibias, and Dibias Dozier will be back together on this show for the next Dibias Roundtable. Until then, thank you for staying with us and allowing us to share some of this information that we think is pertinent to this Pan-African mindset and building of Africa. And hopefully we'll overcome for real one day. With that being said,